Welcome back to First Step Gun Essentials, and we're back here at Shooter's World in Peoria, and today we're going to be talking about the top 10 gun buying mistakes that we see. So Paige has got some comments. She's going to tell us a little bit about some of the things she's seeing, so you don't want to make those mistakes. Panic buying. During the pandemic, we've been seeing a lot of panic buying. We recently did another video on panic buying. So if you go into your local gun store, don't rush. Take your time. Paige has got some tips for you here in a second, but ultimately panic buying makes everything worse. Right now, stores are so swamped, they're not even able to really order what you want. So work with your local gun store sales representative, and they'll help get you taken care of.
Absolutely, and I mean, you see behind us, we have a ton of firearms that you're able to try out and buy and see what you like before you buy it. So just make sure you test out that firearm, you make sure you're comfortable with it before you purchase it.
One of the things we often see is people go straight to the gun store and they ask a question like, I need a firearm. So what can you tell that person?
What I usually, when someone comes up to me and they say, I've never owned a gun before and I need a gun now, I ask them a couple questions. And so have these questions in mind, think about them, and when you come to purchase your firearm, have those answers in mind so that we're able to help you find the firearm that it works for you. A couple questions that I ask is, what are you using that firearm for? Home protection, or are you going to be carrying it on your body, running to the grocery store or something like that? That's going to depend on size. If there's another family member trained on that firearm, or is it just going to be for you? Things like that, your price point, and have you ever shot before? And that way I'm able to gauge what caliber and what size of firearm works for you.
If you're unsure, they're definitely willing to help you, but having a general idea, a little bit of research is definitely going to help your sales representative kind of point you in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So don't just roll up to the store and say, give me a gun. Take a little time, look into it, and then they'll take you the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Another thing we often see with new firearms owners is they want to go get the nicest firearm, and they haven't really thought about the overall cost. So Paige has got a caution for you here in a second, but make sure you've kind of thought about the process of what you're going to need to own. Don't just think about the firearm, think about storage. We'll talk about that here in a second. So what would you caution a first-time gun buyer regarding their budget?
It is very important to have a budget, right? We sell firearms from $200 to $1,200 to $2,500, so have that budget in mind, but also keep in mind you get what you pay for. So an average price for a good, reputable firearm is about that $500 range. But then also you need ammo, you need a safe to keep control of your firearm, making sure your firearm's locked up. So have those things in mind and figure out what is your overall budget for all of those things.
But don't just buy the cheapest item, right?
No.
And again, they can kind of help you with that. There are cheap firearms, there are cheap safes and things like that, but have an idea of what you want to spend, but don't just try to cheap out.
You get what you pay for.
There you go. Now that you have your budget, the next temptation and mistake is to try to buy everything all at once. You get excited, you've got your gun, you want to go buy everything. We're going to talk a little bit about accessories here in a second, but be sure to take your time. Not everything needs to be purchased right off the bat, especially if you're on a tight budget. You can prioritize certain items. Another mistake new gun owners often run into is purchasing a weapon without thinking about how they're going to use it. And this is something that Paige can talk about because she sees it all the time.
Absolutely. So big question that I ask when you come to purchase a firearm with us is, do you want to use it for home protection or personal protection? Because that depends on the size of firearm, the size of the shooter or the gun purchaser, to make sure that you can conceal that firearm if needed. And maybe you don't know specifically and you want to start with home protection, go from there, and then that way you're able to have a larger firearm and maybe go into personal, and we can help you with that decision as well with that firearm.
Not planning for accessories is another common new shooter error when they're trying to buy their first few items. What are some of the things we see?
Don't try to buy everything at once, and don't feel overwhelmed with all the different lights and accessories and red dots and holsters and all those things. As a new gun owner, you definitely need a safe to make sure that firearm is locked up at home. Holster if you want to conceal carry it, and we can help you with that. Definitely ammo, target ammo and defensive ammo, and then explore it. Get comfortable with that firearm, know how to operate that firearm, and then explore the fun accessories and what the gun industry has to offer, because it's a really fun hobby as well.
Because if you get started and you buy like a light for your holster, or a holster, and then you try to buy a light, then you need a new holster. So take your time. Again, there's plenty of room to grow and explore, but you don't need to rush.
Right.
We talked a little bit about firearm and safe storage, and safe storage kind of often gets neglected because it's not as cool as the gun itself, but there's a wide range of opportunities and options available out there, lots of new tech. Paige can tell us a little bit about what they have here and some of the cool new toys that you guys sell.
So with making sure that your firearm is safe and having a specific safe for it, you don't need a huge safe, but you definitely need something that's lockable so that you have control over that firearm. And we have a wide range of prices for safes, ranging in the $20 range all the way to $500. But Vault Tech is an amazing safe company that we use. They're all biometric, keypad combination. That's what I specifically use, and then that way you're able to get to your firearm quickly.
Check it out. Calling your local gun store ahead of time. This one is kind of a weird issue right now because of how busy things have gotten. So tell us a little bit about what you'd recommend to somebody.
So right now, with everything going on, we're getting an overwhelming amount of calls, and it's really hard for us to answer every call, but we do our best to do that. Right now, we are not taking any type of product or gun inventory because we are selling so quickly. So we ask you to just come on into our store and we'll help you with inventory because our inventory is changing every day. Check us out online or check out your local gun store online. Check out their social media if they post their inventory every day, things like that, so that you know if they have that firearm, or just stop in because they might have something that maybe you want and you didn't even know it.
So normally it's not a bad idea to call, but right now things are crazy enough to where they're really going to help you out best if you can just make your way down to the store.
Absolutely.
Not checking your state or local laws or being ready in general. A little bit more.
Yeah. So with coming to purchase a firearm, make sure that we're at whatever state you're in. Check with that gun store or with your state and local laws to make sure that you have the correct documentation to purchase that firearm. In Arizona, we need an Arizona ID with a current mailing address on it, or we need some additional documentation to verify your mailing address. Other than that, just making sure what are the registration laws or concealed carry laws with that state that you're in with that firearm.
A quick search on like a .gov site is usually helpful, or you can ask a firearms instructor and they will point you in the right direction. Thanks for checking out these top 10 tips. Our last one is about you. We hope you've enjoyed these tips, but ultimately you need to think about what works best for you. You see this all the time as a firearms instructor. Just because something works for me, it might not be the best fit for you. So what would you recommend to somebody? How do they find what works best for them?
Number one, try it before you buy it. Just because someone else loves that firearm doesn't mean that you're going to. Doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. All the time I get people coming into the classes and, oh, my loved one gave me this gun because I'm this size and it's small and it's pink or whatever along those lines, and then they end up hating that gun. So definitely go to the range, try that firearm before you buy it so that you know that you're comfortable with that firearm. Making sure that when you walk in, you are empowered and you know that that's the firearm that you want.
Do what works best for you, and ultimately we hope that we've helped guide you through some of the common errors and questions and mistakes that people have. If you like this content, please consider subscribing. We'll be doing more videos weekly, and be sure to check out Shooter's World in Peoria and Phoenix, and stick around. Stay tuned.